So it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and my daughter's just kicked up crying in the next room. And normally we leave her to cry it out, but this time my wife says, go and get her. So I'm like, I thought we'd agreed that we'd just leave her from now on. But my wife says, I miss her and I want to sleep next to me. But I have to point out, my dear, that she's just going to start kicking me, and I'll have to go downstairs and sleep on the couch. And my wife, she doesn't even open her eyes. She just goes, I know, take a pillow if you must. So I get up and head to my daughter's room. She's still crying, so I do my patented smile as I open the door, hoping she'll feel my energy. But this only makes her cry more. So as I get closer and closer to her cot, I hear her say, no, I want Mummy to come. I want Mummy to come. So I figure maybe she doesn't recognize me, and I chirp, hey, Mimi, it's Baba. It's Baba. And I point at myself. This doesn't make any difference. She simply drops down, face down, into the mat, and she starts crying even more. She says, no, not Baba, no, Baba, I want Mama. So I'm shocked for a second, and I try and make the best of a bad situation, saying, okay, I'll take you to Mama. But she simply lashes out at me with her hands and feet. So eventually I manage to get hold of her, but I'm trying to hold her at arm's length, and I begin to deliver her to the next room. So I walk in carrying her with my arms outstretched like I'm Frankenstein's creature, to try and keep her from whacking me. She's still crying her eyes out, and my wife just says, hey, don't hold her like that, as if it was the way I'm holding her that's making her cry, not the fact that she was crying in the first place. So I try and save a little pride and avoid telling her that, I didn't want her to hit me and that's why I'm holding like that. I just put her down next to my wife, and then I lie down myself, and I find out that I've only got 1/5 of the bed left because wife and baby together really like to sprawl. Suddenly, my daughter kicks up again, going, milk, milk. And my wife's all, go and get milk and make sure you only put it in for 25 seconds. I know this, but I don't say anything. So I'm up, head downstairs, I zap the milk, and come back up. My daughter snatches it from my hand and she sips at it for 1 second. She goes, it's too hot, it's too hot. So my wife stares at me and she's all like, I told you to only put it in for 25 seconds. So I have to get annoyed back. I did put it in for just 25 seconds. And then she says, on what setting? Like I've ever used the settings on the microwave. Anyway, she just tuts, and then my daughter kicks up again, reminding us, it's too hot, I want it cooled down. And then my wife, she turns into the Dr. Jekyll side of her personality and starts just cooing and calming my daughter. And then she gets all Mr. Hyde at me, and she hisses, go and cool it down. And so I'm like, what, number one, how? And number two, it's barely lukewarm, she'll get used to it in a second. But my daughter just kind of sees the discord and twists the knife and says, milk, cool down, I want it cool down. And then my wife just gives me the look. So I'm downstairs, I'm watching the milk bob around in a saucepan full of cold water, and I'm listening to laughing and giggling from upstairs. A couple of minutes later, I'm back upstairs and I hand over the now cold bottle of milk, and then my daughter says, it's too cold. And I'm fed up because this is taking the piss. Even if my daughter is just under 2 years old, I remind her in no uncertain terms that, I'm the father, I take charge. So I said, Mira, this is not the Goldilocks story, okay? Just shut up and drink your milk. But then she throws her bottle away and she just starts to cry even harder. And her mum, who's now holding this weird, horrible Medusa stare firmly on me, she picks up the bottle and starts to soothe. It's okay. Mummy warms up the milk for you. And then she puts the bottle to her cheek for like 1 second, and then she says, try it now. And then my daughter takes it and she starts chomping on it, only stops to say, Mama makes the milk nice. And she bobs her little head in a proud round of nodding, and then her mum nods too, and they both give me this triumphant smirk, which pisses me off. But anyway, I try and rise above it, I get comfortable, and all that's left for me now is like 1/8 of the bed, like I'm just dangling on the edge. Anyway, I'm trying to sleep, but a conversation starts between them, and my daughter goes, Mummy's a princess. And then my wife goes, no, Mimi's a princess. And then I hear, Mummy's beautiful. And I hear, no, Mimi's beautiful. Now, as you can imagine, I'm not involved in this conversation. I'm just lying there listening to the founding members of Melbourne's Mutual Appreciation Society show their mutual appreciation of one another. Now, in order to get her energy up for another round of compliments, my daughter chugs away at the bottle for an extended period. So there's a few silent moments, and I'm thinking that this is going to be sleep time. But no, the bed creaks as her mother turns, and then my daughter turns to my wife and says, oh, it's okay. That was Bubba snoring. Okay, now her mum laughs, and I turn to remonstrate, and I look at her. But as I turn, the bed creaks again, and before I can say anything, my daughter goes, and that one's Bubba farting. Now my wife is cracking up, and she turns to tell her, yes, indeed, that those sounds were Bubba snoring and Bubba farting. So I've had enough, so I calmly start to tell her, no, Amira, let me explain. That was actually but before I can finish, my daughter says, no Bubba talk, Mama talk, Mama splain. And then she turns to her mother expecting an answer, but her mother can't answer because she's too busy laughing the hardest she has ever laughed in her life. I get up, I take my pillow, and I leave all the respect and pride I ever had in that room, and I go down to sleep on the couch.